today. We'll get started. Oh wait, are we a little early? No, we're good.
No.
We're good. My name is Leslie Watson, and I'm a board member of the Eastside Food Co-op. I want to welcome you to the Northeast Network if you haven't been here before. We've been running these for about a year. The co-op board decided it would just be a really great way to kind of generate some community discussions about things that had nothing to do with food, or in the case of today's topic, everything to do with food. As I was coming over here, I was thinking it's a really funny kind of thing that the co-op would sponsor this particular conversation. Like, let's empower people to go out and grow their own food. Well, maybe doing a seminar on sewing your own clothes or something like that. But I think it's an example of how the co-op is, kind of about more than even empowering consumers, but maybe in our own small way trying to transform consumption a little bit. There are a lot of really inspiring examples, both generated by co-ops and everyone else, about the kind of urban agriculture and urban gardening that's really almost a revolution, I think, that's happening across the country. One of my favorite, I always like to cite, is the Weaver's Way Co-op in Philadelphia. Philadelphia is about 33 decades beyond many a post-housing crisis in terms of having a lot of vacant land and vacant property in the city. And the Weaver's Way Co-op a few years ago started an urban farm on about 2 acres. Of land that has since really grown and flourished, and it's moved out, and they have more sites, and they have a site at a school, and they have a site adjacent to a homeless shelter where people are growing their own food, and it's just really exciting work, and it's actually spun off and is no longer under the direct umbrella of the co-op anymore. But enough about co-op. I'm going to climb down off the co-op soapbox now and let other people take the soapbox. So anyway, welcome. Nothing to draw a crowd of Minnesotans in the middle of winter, but like talking about gardening, planting something around on that snowman. So today we're going to talk about urban gardening and urban agriculture from a variety of perspectives, and our guests here are Megan O'Hara, who O'Hara Communications, I think, is your company, and also the co-chair of the Homegrown Minneapolis initiative, which has been going on for a couple years, and she'll tell us more about that. And we have Ann Mueller, who's the owner of Go Native Landscaping, and also now the co-op plant sales czar. and then we have Chris Pratt, who is my fellow board member, who's also a longtime gardener at the Mulberry Junction Community Garden. So let everybody kind of take a few minutes, 10 minutes or so, to tell us what they have to say, and then we're going to open it up to questions. Thank you.
Thanks. Never be threatening co-op revenues. We'll never do a vegetable. Well, I shouldn't say never. Maybe in retirement. But good morning, and it's so great to see such a nice sized crowd here today. I just wanted to give you a little snapshot of Homegrown Minneapolis and what it set out to do, and kind of what has evolved over the 2 years since we got started in December 2008. And the idea was to really jumpstart the local conversation around local foods and bring together the many, many people who are working in a variety of aspects of this. And my husband, Mayor Ryback, has been hearing me talk about local foods for many years, and I'm an avid follower of Michael Pollan and some of the other thinkers who've really helped broaden the conversation to the broader public. So I still consider myself to be a newer person to the conversation, and really trying to understand the full depth and breadth of food policy. It's so ubiquitous in our lives, and it's everything from farm policy to who has access to healthy food, and how are we feeding hungry people, and how is farm policy driving the obesity epidemic. These are things that I feel like have just really been sparked over the last few years, is beginning to connect the dots and beginning to communicate in a more unified way to our policymakers. So we hoped that Homegrown Minneapolis could serve as a springboard for local policymakers to begin to make the changes that we all want to see obviously happen more broadly in our state. So anyway, do you want to go on to the first one? So it really was conceived as a city-community partnership. I know many people out there in the community think this is a city project. The city departments are running it, but it really was initiated as a partnership with the community. We held our first meeting in December 2008. We had, I think, more than 100 people show up. And it was a lot of, probably like yourselves, gardeners, people who have been doing it for some years. it's also people kind of in this emerging field of urban agriculture and people looking to actually grow food to sell or grow food to make products. So we started to hear from people like that. We had a lot of people who are part of our farmers markets, who are really avid consumers of our farmers markets and want to see those continue to grow as they have been experiencing growth over the last 10 years. We had other people who are looking at schoolyard gardens and what can we do with schools and school foods. And another group of us that worked overtime on how do we ramp up on institutional commercial use of local foods. So we all had the ultimate goal of Minneapolis residents eating more local, healthy food. And obviously, all of you know this. It's kind of that triple bottom line. It's people's health. It's our economic health. If we can really help grow people who are doing things with local food and making a living off of it, it really will help our region's economy. And obviously, the sustainability aspect of it. So to start with, we kind of surveyed. We've got 33 farmers markets now. Over the last several years, mini markets have been a growing way to get food into neighborhoods where they don't have a full-scale farmers market and they don't have as much mobility or access to cars or whatever. We've been very actively partnering with IATP, Institute for Ag and Trade Policy, to help set up little mini markets near to public housing and other facilities where they need that. Around 100 community gardens. I was learning from Chris that there are at least 10 of them just in this neighborhood alone. They are all over the city. People want more and more community gardens. They want more land. We heard a lot from those folks. We have said 5 natural food grocery co-ops. I think it's actually 4. Does anyone know? Someone was asking me what's the 5th one, and I really could only come up with 4, but they might be including one that's near a suburb or maybe that. Oh, maybe that's it. Obviously, CSAs are tremendously popular throughout Minnesota. That's just been a growing thing. It continues to grow, and in many respects, the leaders of our local movement have been chefs and restaurateurs, which many of you are familiar with. People like Alicia Watson, Scott Campu of Corner Table, Brenda Langton of Spoon River. We've just got a lot of local chefs showing real leadership and really working very closely with farmers. So that's been a tremendous help to us. We're developing some measurements that the city can track progress. We really want to ensure that we're not only setting goals for ourselves, but ensuring that we're making some progress. These are some of the measurements that we'll be looking at. Residents within a quarter mile or sort of walking distance of a local food source, more food growing acres in the city, and more retail food stores selling local food. And so completed or underway. I brought today some of the Urban Agriculture Policy Plan. Are any of you familiar with it, or did you weigh in and give response to the city about the policy plan? This is sort of going to help set the direction in a more permanent way for the city that around some of these goals of opening up more land to growing, looking at zoning and code. If there are any barriers to growing, we want to look at those and tackle those. We had, I think, about 80 letters in response to this plan that was posted. The comment period ended end of January, but I was incredibly impressed with the thoughtful and extremely knowledgeable responses we had from people. And like I said, there were about 80 letters, overwhelmingly positive. If anything, it was like, yes and more. So in many respects, I think policymakers are following the lead of citizens in this respect. Community garden plots and process, we did open up some additional parcels to community gardens last year. I think it was 18 or 20 additional plots. We'll be looking to if there can be more of them. One is in the Beltrami neighborhood, and Nancy is part of that one. And Unfortunately, they found out after starting that there was lead in the soil, and they had to go to all raised beds. So that sort of increased some of them. But these are some of the surprises, and we think that throughout the city there are soil issues. And so one of our big tasks as a community is ramping up on composting. And I'll try to give you a little more detail on that later. EBT and farmers markets, we now are taking, we're taking electronic benefit transfers at 3 of our farmers markets. The main market, Midtown Market, and I believe the Northeast Farmers Market takes EBT. So that's tremendous progress. And they did a program last year, Market Bucks, where they would match $5. Your first $5 you spent would be matched by $5. So I think that's been successful. I don't know if anyone has feedback on that. And then, like I said, the mini farmers markets are really expanding the reach of our farmers markets. Completed or underway. Margaret Shields is here from Gardening Matters, but Gardening Matters is our community partner in setting up local food resource hubs. These are going to be places where, and it's almost more of a network than it is a place. It's a network of people who are going to share resources. A lot of it around gardening. It may be soil, compost, seeds and seedlings. There will be tool sharing, but we also want these to serve as cooking, food preservation, education classes, and these are very, very much neighborhood-based and neighborhood-oriented organizations. The network has just started, I think, created an application process. I believe the membership is $10 a year for a very nominal fee. You become part of the network and part of this kind of sharing network. It's sort of the ultimate democratic approach to local food production. And also launching last year was the Food Preservation Network. And these were workshops that were held all across the city, every ethnic community, they had just tremendous participation. I think each one sold out, and they did basic, I think they did some applesauce classes and some other basic food preservation techniques. This is an example of one I thought, I can't believe that'll take off, because who wants to, do canning again? I mean, it's just unimaginable to me. And every one of them sold out. There was very high interest level. And it just fascinates me. I think it is growing out of people growing more of their stuff. They recognize there are periods of harvest where you just have way too much. And if you can put up food for the winter, you are going to really make your food budget a more manageable prospect. So go ahead. Last year we also did a community kitchen inventory. And this again was to help people in search of, maybe they've been creating some food product out of the kitchen or whatever, and they need to kind of go up to the next level. We posted them on the Homegrown Minneapolis website so people could get access. In some cases, they're church kitchens, and in other cases, they're actual commercial-grade kitchens. I'm not sure who's heard of the Kindred Kitchen on the north side. Have any of you heard of that? That's a brand new commercial kitchen that is going to be shared kitchen space for a number of caterers and small food producers. And we now have at Midtown Global Market on the south side, Kitchen in the Market. And I think Global Market's about 5 years old now, but since the beginning there had been a small shared commercial kitchen space. They have now greatly expanded that and created, I think, 2 work areas and sort of the room to display, do cooking classes, do food tastings, and all kinds of things. So I really encourage you to check out Kitchen in the Market at the Global Market. But that's very exciting. And a really